Hi guys, welcome back to our introduction to practical Python coding in eHealth tutorial for beginners, where we learn about Python coding for digital health or health informatics use. In this tutorial, we're going to learn about lists in Python. In Python, lists are a data type where you want to store, say, a list of something. And in eHealth, a list could be a formulary. A formulary is an example of a list. So a formulary is essentially like a list of medications or list of drugs. So I can say, medications, it's my variable name, equals to, and I got a bunch of medications. So ibuprofen, comma. So what I did here is use square brackets to indicate that I'm using a list. And inside the square brackets, I have strings enclosed by quotes, but this could be other data types as well. It doesn't have to be strings. For this example, I'm going to use strings. And I separate items within this list using a comma. So I have another thing in the list. I say, cough syrup, close quotes, and then okay, so now I have my lists. So once again, so I used square brackets to indicate that this is a list. And here I have a list of medications. So I have uh, item number one here and another item here, another medication here. I press Control Enter. Okay, so this saved this inside my medication as a list. I can access this list by calling this variable. So medications, and I use square brackets here. So if I want the third item, so if I want, uh, so the thing is with lists, the first item starts with zero. The first item starts with zero. If I wanted the third item, I gotta put in two here. So that's because you count from 0, 1, 2, and I get aspirin. Shift Enter, aspirin like this. So you always have to remember that these lists, when you initialize them this way, they always start with 0 as the index. Okay, so you always have to start counting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. Okay, so the other way to access these lists is you can also count from the end of the list. So let's say if I wanted the second last item from the list, which is penicillin, so I can do medications at, so this is pronounced as at -2. Okay, enter. Okay, now I get penicillin. So once again, I started from the last one and then counted. So this will be -1, so the very last one. And this is -2, the second last one, penicillin. And let me just show you that you can do a 0 medications at 0. Shift Enter. That's ibuprofen. So when you count forwards, you always have to count from 0. So you can also think of a string as a list. So let's say I have ibuprofen, right? So this is a string, but you can imagine strings as a list of characters. So you can think of this character I, the first character, at the zeros place of this list, and then B is at the index of 1 in this list. So I can actually do is I can treat this string as a list. I can say ibuprofen and then add 0. So what's that gonna do is gonna pull up the 0th character for me. Shift Enter, and I get I. That's pretty cool. I can also do the same thing I do with this list is count from uh, the very end of the list. So if I want the third last letter or character within the list, I can get it from, so if I have ibuprofen at -3, that will take the third last character, which is F. So Shift Enter, it gives me F. All right. Okay, so that's lists. All right, so now we're gonna perform some manipulations with the list, slicing the list, try to get like a sublist of the list. So if I want it from here to here, we'll see how to do that. If you're interested in health analytics, you're gonna wanna pay special attention to this part because a lot of the work you're gonna do is actually manipulating lists. Or similar data structures like this, and you're gonna want to know how to, take a subset of your data set, for example. So a lot of your data set is gonna be expressed like this in this format, and you want to be able to manipulate these kind of data sets. Um, but even if you're developing a digital health app, these kind of manipulations will also be useful for you as well. All right, so what we're going to do now is slice the list. So for example, if I wanted from aspirin to penicillin, so I start from the third place. I want the third place up until the, zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth place. From the third place up to the fifth place, from aspirin to penicillin, what I would do is I say medications, add, and then 2:5. Shift enter. So that's gonna take our medications, our medications list, and then it's gonna start from an index of 2. So remember we start from 0, 0, 1, 2, and it goes to a fifth one. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 5, but it does not include uh, the fifth index. So it actually goes from, if I put 5 here, it goes from, so it goes from 2, 3, and 4. It does not include this index. Okay, so it goes from aspirin, Tylenol, up until penicillin. All right, so if I wanted the fifth index here, I'd have to put 6 here. So I can say medications from 2 to 6. Okay, shift enter. All right, so it gave me an error. Oh, okay, I spelled medications wrong. So medications from 2 to 6. Shift enter. There we go. Now we got the amoxicillin. So this is actually at position 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in order to get this, I needed to put 6 here as my end. Okay. So that's one thing you gotta keep in mind. It's not really intuitive. You just have to memorize this. So the more you work with these lists, the more faster you'll be. Um, all right. So I can do. I can also do something like this. So let's say I wanted from um, from 2 to the end, which is what I did here. So instead of putting 6, I wanted, from 0, 1, 2, from aspirin all the way to the end of the list. I can also just do medications and put 2, colon, and put nothing here. So if I put nothing here, Python will just go to the end of the list for me. Shift enter. You can see like it got the exact same result. Aspirin, Tylenol, penicillin, amoxicillin in the same order. If I wanted one more, so medications from 1 to the end, and just do this, shift enter. You can see I got in other extra cough syrup. which is at index of 1. So 0, 1, and then went from 1 to the end, amoxicillin. So I get the list like that. Okay. Another thing I can do is I can count backward from the end. So, all right. So if I wanted, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth element. So I wanted fifth element from the end. I can do medications at -5 and then colon. So since cough syrup is fifth from the end, fifth from the end, I can just put -5 here and then colon to the end. So this will also work. Shift enter. Okay, it didn't work. Oh, that's because I spelled medications wrong again. So medications -5 colon. Okay, shift enter. So that worked. So so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth from the end, and it'll go to the end for me. Okay, let's say I wanted 4 from the end, medications at -4 colon. Okay, and then shift enter to get aspirin to the amoxicillin. So that's fourth one from the end. All right. Okay. So let's say I wanted, count from the beginning to some number. So let's say I wanted to count from beginning to the index of 1. So I gotta put in medications. All right, so I'm gonna put nothing and then colon. So since I wanted an index of 1, I have to put 2 because the second number, it doesn't count that. So in order to get 0, the medication at 0th index and the first index, I have to put 2 here. So doing that will give me, shift enter, ibuprofen and cough syrup. Okay. All right. So another thing I can do is I can combine these kind of syntax together. So if I just put medications and then open and close square brackets, I just put a colon in the middle. So it goes from the very beginning to the very end. If I put nothing there, shift enter. So I got the whole list back again. Just simply by just putting nothing in the beginning and nothing in the end. All right. Okay, so another cool thing that you can do is, so if I put medications, right? So let's say if I wanted to, skip one. So I wanted to take the first one, the third one, and the fifth one. So take every other one. I can do medications, 0 goes 0 to 6, right? And then I can put another value in here using another colon, and I put 2. So this will take actually every other one starting from 0 and ending with 6, which is just one more than the last one. So if I shift enter, so I take the 0, the 0th position, um, and then skip this one, and then take this one, this value, and then skip this one and take this value and put it here. So this tells you how many to increment or skip by. And so this, if you have a 2 here, it extracts every other element in your list. Okay. Same thing, you can actually go the other way. So if I can go from 6 to 0, but I can put a -2. So this is pretty cool. So medications, and go from 6 to 0, and then I increment by -2. Shift enter. So I started with amoxicillin, and I have Tylenol and cough syrup. So skipped. I got every other one like that using a -2. All right. And yeah, so since we went the entire list, we can also ignore these numbers and just have nothing in its place. So I can put medications, colon. So nothing here would be like nothing here and nothing here. I have another colon, -2, shift enter to run. So you see here, I got the exact same thing. And that's because, you know, that's because the -2 tells it to that I wanted to go from the end of the list to the beginning of the list. All right, so if I wanted to go forwards, I just go like medications, colon 2, shift enter. So you can see I got the first one, skip one, I get aspirin, and then skip one, I get penicillin. So this tells it to go forwards. So go from beginning to end. So the -2 here tells it to go from end to beginning, like that. Okay, so that's how you manipulate lists. And then there are special functions that's built into Python that you can do with lists. So one of them that you may use frequently if you're doing digital health app is len function. So this function gives you the length of the list too. So all you got to pass in is the medications list. So len and your list variable, shift enter. So this list has a length of 6. So that tells you the length of the list. Okay, and with lists, you can modify the lists during runtime. So what that means is that, so if you have a medications list, right? So let's print it out so that I don't have to scroll up every time. So this is my medications list. Um, so if I wanted to say modify the position at 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wanted to modify amoxicillin. I want to change that to say another antibiotic. Let's say erythromycin. I can just say medications at 5 equals to erythromycin. Shift enter. Okay, so that should have changed the value. Let's print it out again. Medications list and see erythromycin. You can see the very last element is printed as erythromycin. Now it printed out vertically is as opposed to horizontal. That's probably because this 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 string, this word is a little bit longer than that one. So I kind of just took it that way. Uh, there's no difference between the two lists, other than just that this is replaced by that. Let's say I wanted to, add something at the end of the list. I can also do medications dot append, you know, mRNA. So I wanted to add mRNA to the end of this list. I just say medications dot append mRNA. Shift enter. Okay, let's print it out. Medications from beginning to end. Shift enter. At the very end, we had erythromycin, but now we have mRNA. So you can add stuff to the end of the list as well. So, and yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to show you for lists. And note if you're doing health analytics, understanding these kind of append and manipulating these kind of lists, getting a subset of the list is really important. Um, I'll have other tutorials for that. But for now, thanks for watching. Bye.